Many learners hesitate to speak English even in small groups, right? They get cold feet.
Mhm.
But your son confidently asked a question on such a big stage. So, what do you think
Mhm.
builds that kind of confidence in communication?
I guess for adult learners, yes, the what if. What if
Yes.
I say something wrong? What if they judge me? That sort of supersedes everything else. And that's when you constantly get stuck when you speak and you just can't proceed further. And even though you want to, there is always that that stumbling and the fear and the shivering and the jitters that stops you. Well, it has to start somewhere, and it has to start with speaking.
Mhm.
So the first and foremost thing that anybody has to do.
And since we're talking about children, how can parents create an environment at home where children naturally become confident communicators in English, especially? Because parents already have this question, and I get a lot of comments and emails regarding this. How can we create that environment where children will learn to
Mhm.
speak English confidently? Guys, so if they have only 30
Mhm.
minutes at hand to learn English, how should they structure that time to get the best results? So, from a trainer's perspective, how effective is shadowing when it comes to fluency, and how should learners do it correctly? Is it just watch, pause, repeat, or is there something else to it?
Works wonders. It's pure gold. Go for it.
There is plethora of content. You just keep
Mhm.
looking at things like how to learn English, and then you watch more multiple videos of it. How can learners utilize YouTube to learn or improve English effectively? Good morning. I really appreciate you joining me today. So, how are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. How about you?
Yes, I'm doing pretty well as well. So, how's your morning started? On a good note, on a busy note?
Oh, today was not particularly busy, just like any other day. It was a regular school rush, the morning
Hmm.
rush. So, yes.
Okay.
All
Right.
right.
So, since we have just 30 minutes in hand, so I'll just straight away jump to the introduction, and then I have a series of questions lined up, really interesting ones, which I want you to answer. So, first, we'll go ahead with the introduction. Please introduce yourself to the viewers watching you.
Oh, sure. Would be glad. Happy to. Sorry. Oh, sure. Would be happy to. So, I am Ranjita Mary George. I am an ESL trainer. I've been into this field of education for about 12 years now. I started off as an assistant professor in 2014. And it has been a very fruitful journey. I've never really looked back. I would say I had I had this calling for this profession and I thoroughly enjoy doing it. And yeah, it's been going great, I would say.
Yeah. So
Perfect.
you've been in teaching for more than a decade now, right? So I
Yes,
mean, you it must be very exciting for you and rewarding for you even now.
absolutely. I would say I'd be very frank here, though it doesn't pay that well. It's one of the
Yes.
best professions to be in. And the sheer joy of making your learners' lives better, it really resonates in the way they'll come back to you. So you might even receive a message probably 5 or 6 years later from a learner whom you taught 6 years ago and congratulating you on their recent achievement. And you'd be like, you did it. It was all you. And they'll say,
Mhm.
no, ma'am, you do not know. And they'll pinpoint each and every situation from those school years or from the classroom where you probably motivated them or you encouraged them. And
Okay, so we'll just jump straight to the questions for today. So the first question to
oh,
you is, recently you shared a proud moment where your son asked a question to astronaut Sunita Williams. I saw that reel. It was really heartwarming. So that was a public event. As a communication trainer and a mother, how did that moment make you feel?
oh, to be very frank, even till date, when I watched that video, my eyes well up. So yes, it was amazing, and thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for the appreciation as well. And yeah, I believe it was truly once in a lifetime opportunity for him. We are not even from a tier one city, and for him to have that opportunity to interact with the Sunita Williams, absolutely great. Yes, we
Yes.
truly cherish that opportunity.
I think you will remember it for the rest of your life. It was kind of goosebumps moment.
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. So while he was offered that particular opportunity, we still didn't know if he would get a chance to ask a question or any of that. So, but then still, I told him, have some prepared. So I asked him to go through a few notes and all, and he still wrote down like I think 4 questions or something. But even that morning, we were like, oh, where is he gonna get a chance? I mean, there's so many students, and I mean, he's one tiny little kid. I mean, who would notice him? But it was great. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, congratulations, first of all. Okay, many learners
Thank you. Thank
hesitate
you.
to
I'll
speak.
definitely tell him.
Yes, yes, you
Sorry,
should.
I'll definitely tell him.
Yes, many learners hesitate to speak English even in small groups, right? They get cold feet.
Mhm.
But your son confidently asked a question on such a big stage. So, what do you think
Mhm.
builds that kind of confidence in communication?
Well, I'll be very frank here. He is just a 10-year-old. So I think that the very concept of what if, will they judge me? And what if I say something wrong? I don't think his brain works that way now since he's only in fourth grade. He does not realize that people are that judgmental. So
Hmm.
I think it helps to be naive and innocent at that stage. I'm yet to know whether he is confident in an innate manner or was it the age that added to the advantage. So I yet to know that. But I guess for adult learners, yes, the what if. What if
Yes.
I say something wrong? What if they judge me? That sort of supersedes everything else. And that's when you constantly get stuck when you speak and you just can't proceed further. And even though you want to, there is always that that stumbling and the fear and the shivering and the jitters that stops you.
But what was his experience about it? Does he know that it is something really big, or usually children are like, okay, so what? I just asked a question. So what is his reaction to it?
Well, initially, I doubt if he really understood the kind of opportunity he got because, frankly, I have never met an astronaut in real life. And all of us did tell him that, see, you are the only one in the family who's getting to. So please make sure this counts and make the most out of it, have fun. And that was all that we told him before leaving. And after actually getting to talk to her, he was really happy. And she even said that, we have a future helicopter pilot here. And then he was like, I think he was completely, accelerated and happy about the whole situation. So, but still, I doubt if he actually understands the real gravity of the
Yes.
situation. Because then again, he's only a 10-year-old. He doesn't know the kind of achievement, the kind of struggle that Sunita Williams has gone through to make it to that level. And the recent episode where she was stuck in space, even
Yes.
that, the kind of ordeal that you go through is not something that a child understands. So I'm still, I feel it's still yet to dawn on him. Probably in another 2 or 3 years, he'll understand the value of that particular interaction.
Yes. And the
Yeah.
way
But
we
he was
perceive
truly
things.
very, very happy.
Yes, yes. And the way we perceive things is different compared to children. For
Yes.
them, like we know the
Right.
gravity of situation, we know the uh, like you when you get that kind of opportunity, the magnitude that it holds, we understand that. But children, they are not that very serious about it. But maybe when he grows up and he watches, I think it is over the internet also that he asked that question. When
Yes,
he
yes.
sees that video, I think he will maybe gradually realize what kind of an opportunity he had got.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay, so in your experience as a TESOL certified trainer, what is the biggest mindset shift someone needs to make to start speaking English confidently?
Well, it has to start somewhere, and it has to start with speaking.
Hmm.
So the first and foremost thing that anybody has to do is to shed that fear, step out of your comfort zone, and just to start speaking. So sometimes it is as simple as that, but at the same time, difficult also, because it's easy for me to say that please start speaking English. But for the person who is actually encountering that challenge, the words would probably be stuck here and nothing would be coming out of his mouth verbally. So it would be very, very difficult in that manner. But at the same time, that is a fact. Unless and
Yes.
until you use the language, you will never learn the language. The language will still remain in books and not, you will not be well versed. So you just got to speak. That's where it has to start. And maybe have your comfort zone in that way. So
Mm.
step out of your comfort zone to speak, but have the right kind of crowd around you who support you. And with them, probably you can start off your journey, where there's no judgment in that sense. With adults, I think that's the most important factor. They need to have that right space where there is a growth mindset, where there is mutual motivation happening. And if you still don't have it, just look at yourself in the mirror and go for it.
That's right. Just talk to yourself.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
If I have to imagine myself in others' shoes, even I know Tamil, I can understand almost 80% of it. And I feel that I can talk it, but I wouldn't do that
Hmm.
because of the
Hmm.
hesitation and the accent issues, or maybe what people will think. I might pronounce something wrong. So I relate like that, so that I can understand the pain point when people say, I'm scared to speak. So, and when people say you are fluent and you will not understand what is happening with us, I can relate that with some other language that I know, but I'm not able to speak and I cannot speak. With children, it is different. They have a growth mindset. That's how they learn. They are not worried about mistakes. They just keep talking. My son is 6, but still he cannot pronounce right. And even though we laugh sometimes that this is not this, this is this, still he takes it in a positive stride and he tries to pronounce it. But with grown ups, it's different.
Absolutely. That's why I said it helps to be a 4-year-old. Absolutely. Yes.
It
A six, sorry, it helps to be a 10-year-old in my son's case. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I would say. And that naiveness helps them grow further without any fear of judgments. So, the best thing
Yes.
to do, which is why the earlier you learn the language, the better.
Exactly. And since we're talking about children, how can parents create an environment at home where children naturally become confident communicators in English, especially? Because parents already have this question, and I get a lot of comments and emails regarding this. How can we create that environment where children will learn to
Mhm.
speak English confidently? So, what can parents do when children are at home?
I guess there are multiple layers to this. Not every parent maybe have this option. So if they face a language constriction. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if that word is right. If probably if they are not comfortable with the language, then probably it might not be very easy for them to start incorporating English on a daily basis at home. So then an option would be to expose these learners to videos and cartoons where there's a lot of language exchange happening. There's a lot of dialogues happening in English. So I wouldn't choose shows like Masha and the Bear or
Yeah.
maybe ones with just actions, but rather ones with a lot of dialogues. Or maybe there was one I'm sorry, I forgot the name. Rachel, something with Rachel, which was a really good show. Then there's Blippy and Dr.
Peppa Pig?
Binox. In fact, Peppa Pig. Yes, why not? Definitely, that was one of my son's favorite. I remember, as a toddler, I remember him watching it every day. So those shows can really help. But otherwise, if you really want to structure that journey and if you're ready to give in the right kind of time and effort, I would suggest the parents to start with their own language learning journeys. They need to start learning the language so that they can make sure that their children can actually listen to them on a daily basis, and the English becomes more contextualized there because in many cases you have a lot of nuances when it comes to Indian English and the Western. shows that you're exposed to. There's a lot of difference. So this becomes easier in that manner. So I guess if the parents are ready to dedicate that kind of time, they need to start there. So there has to be a lot of exposure to the language at home. That's what works like magic.
That's true, definitely. And parents should start their own journey. That is the reason many parents are now on their journey of improving English because they want to give that environment for their children. Because unless they
Hmm.
have that
Right.
environment, of course, children have that environment at school, but even at home, they want to provide them that chance where they can communicate in English. So, yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's the best option.
Absolutely, that's very true. And in certain cases, I feel that's not always feasible because in case if maybe a child is growing up in a different state in
Hmm.
India where his mother tongue is not spoken and the parents want him to learn the mother tongue. Then again, there is a clash between the race to learn the mother tongue and the race to master English. So yes, I think there are too many layers to this. So
Yes.
you, being a parent, you have to decide as to what you want your child to learn, what you want to make easy for him or her, and then probably take the call.
Yes, and when you talk English at home, it starts getting personal and you start becoming comfortable with the language. So I believe if
Mm.
you start making English personal, you will relate to it more and you will become more comfortable with the language.
Yes. And he or she, the child, will automatically start thinking in English.
Yes, that's true.
And they don't have to translate from their mother tongue anymore. So it just becomes a natural process altogether.
Yes, definitely. So if someone can dedicate only 30 minutes a day to learning English, because we know many people are busy with a lot of things in their lives. So if they have only 30
Mhm.
minutes at hand to learn English, how should they structure that time to get the best results?
30 minutes. And okay, now to pinpoint the strategy, it would require a lot of analysis on which level the learner is. But to just get to the crux of it, I would suggest a lot of listening practice and speaking at the same time. So maybe 15 minutes of listening and 15 minutes of speaking. So 50-50, or maybe even 60-40. So 40 minutes, sorry, 40% of listening and then 60% of speaking. So at whichever cost, you shouldn't let go of the speaking aspect. That's not something you can do away with. So that has to be taken into consideration. What happens is, in most cases, learners read a lot, but they don't speak enough. Learners listen a lot, but again, they don't speak enough. So there, the practice does not happen. You're not training your mouth muscles. So any sort of listening has to be followed by a set of speaking. So focus on that and then divide your time effectively. And I'm sure 30 minutes is still enough if you have the time for it.
Yes, and people are comfortable with listening and reading practice because it's something they can
Mhm.
like it is comfort, right? You don't have to put in a lot of uncertainty or fear to it. But when it comes to
Mhm.
speaking, it is work. It's really work. You have to plan, you have to speak, and then you have to give yourself feedback also, but at least try to speak. But reading and listening, it's like you can do it easily by yourself, no judgment. You don't have to feel awkward about it. Yeah.
Exactly, no judgment, right? Because at the end of the day, when you start speaking, whenever you make a mistake, you start judging yourself, and then that's the whole cycle. So,
Cycle.
yes, facing that fear and not being afraid to reflect on yourself, it should be the first stage. It's okay. It's okay to make mistakes, and that reality should set in first for you to take that first step. Yeah, very true. Very true.
True.
It's not easy. I agree. Uh, but we can be really harsh towards ourselves. So, the
Yes.
first and foremost thing that I tell all my learners is be patient to yourself. This is a language, not a subject. It is time consuming, and you need to make peace with that first and then proceed. So, yeah,
True.
very, very true.
So many people talk about shadowing practice, and I've also seen your videos where you provide shadowing practice on your Instagram and recently YouTube as well. So, from a trainer's perspective, how effective is shadowing when it comes to fluency, and how should learners do it correctly? Is it just watch, pause, repeat, or is there something else to it?
Well, if you ask me, any day I'll pick shadowing first. And when I started, so it was almost 5 years back that I started completely investing my time into being an ESL trainer. And when I started that, I noticed that we did not really have a lot of content creators from India who who were into language learning, who were into language instruction, doing shadowing practice. So at that point in time, I had no plans to start a YouTube channel, but if I did, I always wanted to do this one part, shadowing practice for beginners and intermediates and upper intermediates. So, which is why the very first video that I wanted to do was about shadowing, and I was very hell bent on doing that. And now I see a lot of my fellow YouTubers also doing the same. So it's great joy actually. And to me, shadowing works like magic. But you need to be consistent with it. So when you do shadowing practice, if the context, if the wordings are new, I would suggest you to go over and over on the very same pattern, on the very same topic. Keep watching more videos, or maybe the same video again and again until you're very comfortable with the phrasings, with
Hmm.
the prepositional uses, with the tenses. So it takes time for your brain to absorb all that information at once. So initially, you can just start with the intonation and the rhythm and the tone, and then eventually proceed further into dissecting the phrases, maybe dig a little deeper. And whichever it is, however you proceed, it needs to be done repeatedly. And that
Mm-hmm.
repeated practice is what works wonders.
Repetition is the key.
Yes. If you ask me any day, shadowing and repetition works wonders. It's pure gold. Go for it.
So, do you recommend shadowing to all levels of learners, or is it more beneficial to beginners?
All levels. But then you need to choose your level accordingly from the YouTube
Yes.
content that's available. That's what happens whenever you are going at it on your own. So there has to be a very conscious effort in understanding which content is ideal for you. When
Yes.
you have a trainer to back you up, it becomes easier. But when it's not the case, then yes, you need to identify the right element, and you need to step up also when it's time. That
Yes.
again is very important. Otherwise, you would be stagnant at one level. If you need to understand, there's so much to English. I'm sure you relate with me on this one. There's so much more. So every day, even I learn. And being a non native speaker, it's an endless journey for us. So you need to level up at each point, and that's how you proceed.
Yes. And you're also into YouTube these days, and we all know there is plethora of content. You just keep
Mhm.
looking at things like how to learn English, and then you watch more multiple videos of it. How can learners utilize YouTube to learn or improve English effectively instead of just watching passively? Because many people just watch passively multiple videos, but they don't learn anything out of it or get anything or do not apply it. So, how can they use YouTube to learn effectively?
So again, the 50-50 rule. So if you're listening to something, make sure you speak on it and don't skip the speaking part. So
Yes.
that's very, very important. So randomly just listening and then ending it right there is where the problem lies. You
Yes.
need to speak. You need to use your mouth muscles. There's so many. How would I put it? There are so many layers of learning that happens. So even for an adult learner, even when I have learners in my own class, sometimes I have to consciously tell them, see, when I make you say this, there are these. Sometimes when I make them repeat, they don't understand why is this. Why is this trainer making me repeat something as though I am a 4 year old kid? But then so with adults, that's very, very important. You have to tell them as to why this is being done a certain way.
Hmm.
So maybe I have a motive there. There's a drilling practice that I'm aiming at. So I have to tell them that and then proceed with it. So there are so many subtle layers there which you need to understand and move accordingly. Otherwise, yes, it just becomes passive listening and you don't essentially benefit from the time you're dedicating towards it. And none of us have the luxury of time. We don't. So it's very, very important that when you're dedicating your time, listen actively, speak actively, And even if it's just 30 minutes a day, make sure there's active listening happening and not passive listening.
Yes. You also become a good listener when you're listening. And the attention span has come down so much. And, if you want to really learn something, watch long form of content attentively,
Hmm.
actively, and then put it into practice. When it comes to shorts or reels, there is so much content. You just keep scrolling and you exactly don't learn anything at the end of the day. So you just have to
Very
categorize what you want to do and channelize it properly. Just this one video for learning purpose, just watch, apply, or speak. If you're watching some story, just watch and narrate in your own words or record yourself. So it has to stay in your mind that you're doing this for learning. Sometimes it happens you just get on social media and then endless scrolling, right? It is so difficult to
exact
keep yourself
focus.
focused. Yeah, that's the right word.
So most of the time, what happens is, yes, you have their attention, but it's not undivided attention. The minute there's a pop up here and then you're distracted. So, yes, that is very, very true. Attention span has declined considerably, and you need to find a way out of it. So I would say more often than you think, even despite being adults, we are right now susceptible to all of this. Paying undivided attention is has actually become the rarest of the rare scenes now. And yes, you need to probably having the right space around you. So maybe have a place to sit down, maybe take notes. So bringing that tactile aspect also helps in motivating you and giving you the feeling that you're actually learning something. And when you look at your results, when you look at the words you've written down, probably you feel more motivated to move further. And something that I make my learners do is I ask them to send me video journals. So instead of making journal entries at the end of the day, I normally make them send me video journals or audio journals, whichever is comfortable for them. So probably it takes like 2 minutes or maybe 3 minutes before going to bed. And they can quickly just record, a list of events that happened that day and they can send it to me. So most of the time, the next day's session begins with the recap of the journal, of the video or the audio journal. So we just quickly brush through it. We see if there's maybe a pronunciation error, or maybe a tense error that we can work on, or maybe a new word I can introduce there. And then we build on it. So when lessons are tailored that way, I think that also helps. So if you're not planning on taking the help of a trainer, then maybe this is a good option. You can still do it on your own. Maybe look at yourself in the mirror or even record yourself on a device and just revisit and see. So I think when you're fully invested into it, you will be able to find out errors on your own. You essentially might not even need a help. So
Yes,
that can be a really good option. Just
yes,
summarizing the daily.
that's right. And when it comes to mistakes, I think reading is your best friend. Books are your best friend because books are always right. So the
Hmm.
more you read, you get a idea of what mistakes you are making, and I think you will get it naturally.
Yes, yes, that's true. But unfortunately, I do not know how many people have the kind of attention span it requires to actually commit to a book lately. I find it a little disheartening to accept this, but that is the truth.
Yes, and last time we spoke, you were planning on starting your reading journey. So where does it stand now?
Well, I wouldn't be, yeah. If I say that I finished a book, then I'd be lying to you. But yes, I'm just looking at the stack right here. But I did start, and it is actually proceeding at snail pace. But I'm glad that I've started. So let's stop it at that.
Yes, so did I.
How is it going
I
for you?
Yes, I started. I finished a book that was especially because I want to divert myself from social media. Recently, it's getting too addictive for me because I work
Mhm.
mostly on my phone and on YouTube mostly, and not on teaching. So it is mostly about
Mhm.
researching and like being on social media all the time. And as you said, something pops up, and my attention is divided.
Hmm.
So in order to avoid that, I started reading. I finished a book. I've ordered other books as well, but it is just lying there, and I've not yet started reading that. I will hopefully soon. So yeah, that's where my
Definitely.
journey
So that's
started.
great. It's a good start.
It is. Yep.
Right.
Okay. So one final question before we wrap up. If you had to give one
Hmm.
piece of advice that could completely change someone's English learning journey, what would it be?
Wow. Um, well, I'd say that if you listen very carefully, either of us would have made at least one error during the last 30 minutes. And it's okay. We still managed to hold the conversation for 30 minutes. We did convey some interesting thoughts. And I'm sure this conversation would be of use to at least one learner out there. And if that's possible, then nobody should hesitate. Just start speaking. And unless and until you do it, you're not going to reach your goal. So please start as soon as possible. So
Yes.
I think once you are on that track, rest everything will fall in place naturally. And consistency,
Yes.
that again is non-negotiable. So I would. So most people think that maybe they do not have time during the week and they'll just learn on the weekends and keep the weekdays
Hmm.
without any sort of engagement or exposure to the language. Then that's a problem. So I would say consistency is very, very important. Try to connect with the language daily. So if you have a personal trainer, try to connect at least alternatively, and that makes a lot of difference.
Yes. And since many parents are also watching this video, is there any specific thing that you do every day with your child or children to enhance their English or communication, not as a trainer, but as a parent?
Well, I'm not the right person to answer this question. To be very frank, I am one of the laziest parents on earth, I would say. So I'm sure every parent would have at least taught their kids a nursery rhyme before they actually went to school, or maybe ABCD, something of that sort. But I had made it very clear to myself that I would not be teaching him anything before he goes to school. So not even an ABCD, not even a twinkle twinkle, none of it, none of it. We just had conversations. I was around a lot. I would be very frank there. I had taken a break. So though I was working, it was mostly on a guest lecture sort of thing. So I was available during the day. And the only effort I took was that at home, he had exposure to his mother tongue as well as this language. So
Okay.
I tried to mix it in. I tried to make sure that here and there he was listening to the language. He was exposed to it in a very natural way. So that is the only effort I took towards him learning the language. Other than that, zero structured formats, none of that. I didn't. So I wanted him to be comfortable with the language, but at the same time, I did not want him to hate the language. I
Yes.
wanted him to have the love for it, which is something that helped me. I had this fascination for people who spoke this language. I had a deep desire to learn it. So I wanted to slowly inject it in parts. So no zero structure, but here and there, a lot of exposure here and there. But that was a conscious effort. Yes, I would say that. But to him, I don't think he realized that, because the other day we just saw a small video of his sent by my friend when he was around 2 years or 2.5 years, and he was speaking English. There were a lot of errors, but he was speaking English, and he just watched the video and he was like, "So I spoke English then?" And I said, "Yes, you did." So it was
Oh.
surprising for him. So I don't think he realized, but yeah, try putting it here and there, and it'll all fall in place eventually.
Yes, right from beginning you had like he had that
Hmm.
environment. At least you had introduced English to him along with your native language. Both the languages hand in
Yes.
hand. So that is how he was talking.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Right. Okay. So amazing talking to you again. I really appreciate you joining me today. So is there anything else you would like to add before we wind up the session?
Well, to all um, our lovely learners out there, stop hesitating, just take the plunge. This is the time. You cannot afford to lose any more time. So start speaking. That's all. And everything else will fall in place, and make as many mistakes as you want. It's absolutely all right. And thank you so much, Miss Shanta. It's been long. The last time we connected was definitely at least three
Three
months
months
ago, I
ago, yeah.
believe.
Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and also please follow ma'am on YouTube. So her videos are amazing. I did watch quite a few of them and very natural. You have definitely have rich experience in it and you share really valuable insights. So please head to ma'am's channel and follow her on YouTube.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Yes.
Okay,
Would love to. Would
bye-bye.
love to.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Thank
Have a good
you.
day.
Bye bye. You too. Thank you so much once again.